did you read that McKinsey report that like in their estimate is that within 10 years, by 2030, McKinsey, MIT, that's when they're saying this kind of robot apocalypse is going to come to fruition.
Right.
I've heard statistics, something like 80% of all jobs are going to be automated away. And to your earlier point, like perhaps AI will, lead this new renaissance where all these new jobs are being created. But if within the next 10 years we're losing 80% of all jobs, like we're not going to be able to replace it at that kind of rate.
Exactly. It's the rate of replacement that he's concerned about. And if you just think about you and I, like if like I'm an accountant and I already see on QuickBooks, which is an accounting software most people use. Okay. If you're a business owner, you kind of know, you have experience with that. Now they automatically download transactions for you.
I see.
And they automatically get keywords because when they download it from the bank puts some keywords on there and who it's charged to. And it automatically gives, sets, okay, this is a, meal and entertainment expense. And all you have to do is just click okay. That's automating a huge part of our job.
You reminded me of something I heard recently, like even say financial news, like Bloomberg, it's actually not designed for human beings to read. It's designed for machines to read. And so, what takes us a whole morning to catch up on like stocks, machine does it in like fraction of a second. And so to your point, yeah, you're right. It's not just blue collar jobs that are going to be disappearing, but white collar jobs. And if anything, it's the jobs where it's just some dude in front of a computer that are the most vulnerable.
And a lot of people think that their jobs are immune to it, but if you think about it, like LegalZoom.
True. Yeah, the entry level legal work. You're absolutely right. Even entry level coding work.
I've heard of that. Now I don't know coding that well. I've done it in college.
Oh,
and that's why I don't do coding anymore because I suck at it. But I that's what I hear. Like a low level coding job, low level, a lot of things are going to be automated away really quick. And if you think about how things are now, we're in Southern California, we're in LA, the greater Los Angeles area, so we know how expensive things are.
That's true.
And the current statistic is 78% of people can't afford a $400 expense, or 60% of people, and that number is worse for millennials.
Yeah, because we're kind of against we are millennials.
Although I don't like to say senior millennials.
I don't like senior in front of anything. But I will say though, but millennials are notorious for not wanting to own things, for foregoing materialism a bit to kind of like follow your bliss. So to your point, I think you're right. We're actually more vulnerable to kind of these financial hiccups than previous generations.
And I think that's one way to look at it, but another way is that's just a product of our environment. We have to be unmaterialistic because we can't afford to be materialistic.
I've heard that argument, but to just push back on that a little bit, they say Gen Z though much more materialistic. They're big on home ownership. They're big on like getting that money. So I think perhaps it's just like a reaction.
Maybe I'm Gen Z.
Hey, Jack, you do pretty well for yourself. Yeah, you do.
Well, I mean, the thing is, I think I've gotten myself into careers where it was very labor intensive. It required a lot of human interactions. But I'm seeing people moving away from it.
What do you mean?
So my other line of business is health insurance.
Okay.
And with health insurance, I deal with a lot of people who are much older. They're usually Medicare age. So they are used to having people.
I see. No, but you bring up a good point. So one of the industries that's very kind of resistant to automation is the healthcare industry. Because you're right, it's a lot of one-on-one interactions. They want that kind of human touch. They call it the bedside manner. And I think, but at the same time, it's not necessarily a guarantee either. They have these like comfort robots they're designing. in like of all places, Japan, of course. And they're
What
just
kind of comforts do they take care of?
well, there's actually yeah, just quite there's that kind of comfort. You're right, but what I'm referring to is there's like ones they're designing for like Alzheimer's patients, like old people, because as a human being, like it's tough to kind of interact with someone who has Alzheimer's, because you're kind of having the same conversation over and over again, and so this way, these old people who don't have a lot of money. But who need that kind of like almost rote interaction, they appreciate these kind of robots.
I'm glad you brought that up because that's going to be one of the major concerns in the future. That's why healthcare, anybody you talk to who's a nurse and stuff like that, and they usually have a very stable job, and they're gonna keep they have a lot of job security, but one main concern is affordability. These seniors, these Medicare recipients, eventually they're not going to be able to afford somebody actually, caring for them 24 hours a day. So robots are going to be the answer for that. And with these robots, I heard it's actually pretty funny. So they done a lot of thinking on these robots. They programmed these robots to be suggestive rather than commanding. Like, hey, you need to take your medication. Who wants a robot that tells you what to do?
Yeah, that's true.
So it's more like, hey, time for your medication. Would you like to take your medication? Oh, no, not right now. Then it'll remind you again in 5 more minutes and another 5 minutes. And then it'll understand your behavior. And it'll be like, oh, he usually wants to take his medications after the 9 o'clock news.
Oh, he's in a mood right now.